Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. Another morning, another dollar. You know how we do. This is Beyond the Stethoscope. What up, guys? And this is another beautiful day in Darwin, I guess. Sun shining, bright outside, looking good. I'm chilling outside the research building where I guess a lot of the research goes on around Darwin. I think this video is gonna be talking about the unwritten rules of being a medical student. I think going through this degree, 5 years in, there's just certain things that you just learn to pick up or you learn just not to do. And considering the way this year's gone by with the intermixing between two schools, I just think there isn't a consistency between knowing these unwritten rules. It's just one of those things where, for example, the unwritten rule of getting the last slice of a pizza, do you go for it? Do you go, someone else go for it? You think in your mind, or that sort of thing. So I'm going to see if I can go through some of the unwritten rules for you, and maybe from my perspective, and see if you agree with them, disagree with them. Comment in the comments below, and let me know what you think. So with regards to colleague cooperation, I think it comes down to the idea of, being understanding that we're all medical students, we're all in this together. The competitive process is over. Essentially, in the duration of medical school, you've got into med school, you have 6 or 4 or 5 or how many years to finish your degree. And this is where, you don't have to be screwing over each other in terms to get ahead. Like, this is more where, you've done your job, it's gotten competitive in the admission process, you've done all this volunteering, you got your marks up and whatnot. Now you're in medical school. Take these years to enjoy it, build relationships between your colleagues. Don't screw them over just to be the best medical student, because in all honesty, you could be the best medical student and still be a terrible doctor. So I think you should be able to learn how to make friends and learn how to build relationships with colleagues and your seniors and whatnot, and even in the juniors, because you never know who's going to be working out with you and who's going to be at the hospital, who do you need to have help with, and stuff like that. Another rule pretty much intertwined with colleague cooperation is just colleague respect. Again, you should be able to turn up for things if your colleagues are presenting. If someone's presenting, don't be on your phone while they're presenting. Maybe don't be on your iPad. Of course, show up on time. Just because they're not a doctor doesn't mean you can show up 15 minutes late or 10 minutes late and not apologize, This is why people got phones and text messages and all that kind of communication, so let people know ahead of time. Sometimes I guess this idea of respect, people think, it's given, it's very difficult to earn or very difficult to lose. And I think from my personal perspective, the way I work is that everyone deserves respect. And it's on you to keep it or it's on you to lose it. And personally with me, when people, show disrespect, and it's happened more often than you think, it's hard for them, in my opinion, to earn it back. And it's simply, just people being ignorant and people not knowing that, their efforts are disrespectful. And to be honest with you, when you're a 5th-year medical student, you're still doing things that maybe a first-year medical student or even a high schooler are doing to show disrespect. You would have thought you'd have learned by now. And, I'm not one to call you out on it, but I'm not one to bear with it either. I think it's just a matter of learning, the hard way after that. Because, for example, being on time is pretty a basic skill for any job. Doesn't matter if you're a medical student or you're a 12-year-old going to school. You always want to be on time. You don't want a tardy slip. You don't want this. You don't want that. You just want to respect. I think that's the biggest thing. Even it comes down to with doctors and students. I think That's another thing that a lot of people, um, I guess it's different because it's like bullying and whatnot with, higher superiors looking down at medical students and saying, oh, they know nothing, or they're asking questions that you would have no idea, and you feel terrible after not knowing it. And it's one of those respect things. Like, yeah, you might not know the answer now, but you're a medical student. This is your first time, or maybe the second time, or whatever time, interacting in the hospital, and you've got a whole bunch of knowledge. Some of these questions might be basic for a doctor, but might be difficult for a student. So, and I feel that's a kind of thing where, the doctors will disrespect you because you don't know it. And then they'll just start ignoring you and not including you part of the team. And you know what? That's on them. But at the end of the day, I feel those aren't the doctors that you want to pick up skills from. I think, in my personal opinion, a lot of the doctors that have made impact on the way I work and I train as to become a medical professional and a doctor, it's the ones that have made an impact on teaching me something or stressing the importance of it. I might have gotten the answer right, I might have gotten the answer wrong, but at the end of the day, it's more of, teaching me something, giving me something to do, teaching me a new skill, letting me practice, or even quizzing me sometimes, and even if I get it wrong, like explaining me why, the reasoning, so that I would remember it the next time it happens. I think that's the biggest thing. Asking me a question that has no validity, and then for me not to know it and then not correct me on it or not ask me again or explain it to me makes absolutely no sense. And I think that's one of the biggest flaws, I guess, in medicine that I've seen so far in my time. So yeah, I think colleague respect is a very key thing that if you haven't learned by now as a medical student, you should pick up on that as soon as possible. So the next unwritten rule looks at questions and knowing when to ask them and knowing when to keep them to yourself or ask them later. So I think the biggest thing with me questions is that people always want to ask whatever comes to their mind without actually thinking about their questions. And fair enough, you're eager, you're knowledgeable, you're listening to lectures or you're reading material, you want to figure it out. I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is, and should be known, is think about the question you're going to ask. Is it going to be answered later in the lecture? Or has it already been answered? Or better yet, will you remember the answer a week from now? And if you can say to yourself, yes, I'm going to remember this answer a week from now, go ahead and ask it. But in all likelihood, if you're not going to be able to remember the answer a week from now, probably not an important question. I think another one in terms of questions is that know the timing of your questions. If it's a Friday afternoon or any day late afternoon or the last lecture of the day and you're waiting till the very end of the lecture to ask your question while everyone's about to pack up and leave, maybe hold your question and go down and talk to the prof or the doctor by yourself. You don't want to hold up the rest of the 150, 200 students or 30 students or whoever asking this question. Nobody's going to like that. You're going to be in the exact same position on another day while someone else does it. So you're still going to get your question answered. Go and ask the doctor at the end. But even better yet, if you really have a pressing question and you thought about it and it hasn't been answered, ask it. Don't sit on it, because at the end of the day, you want to know the answer. And maybe other people might have the question too. So it might benefit the other people. So that's my thought on questions. I think the obvious, be nice to everyone, should be self-explanatory, but apparently, from what I've seen over my time in placements, definitely doesn't exist, and you'd think it would be common knowledge. But you never know who needs your help, whether it's a junior medical student, or senior student, or a senior doctor, or a junior doctor, or a nurse. Be nice to everyone around you, because you never know what you're gonna need. Whether it's helping, move a patient's bed or whatever. If you're there and you can do the work and help them out, do it. Because at the end of the day, it's good to help people. And knowing karma, if you ever need something from somebody, and they're around and you help them, they're probably going to help you. They're not going to help the person who said no to them last time before. So be a human and help people and be nice to everyone that you meet.